This is the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Here is your host, Jack Henry.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Ottawa Senators Outlook. I'm your host, Jack. This is my reaction so far to what's been going on with the training camp for the Ottawa Senators. So let's get right to it. So, as most of you know, the Senators have played 3 preseason games so far. A couple of wins against the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of them in overtime, one of them in regulation, and then another one against the Buffalo Sabres in which they lost in overtime. So, over the 3 games right now, they are 2-0-1, and they have one tomorrow in Sudbury for the Kraft Hockeyville against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, another game to look forward to. But right now, they've made a ton of cuts for the training camp. So, let me go over that a little bit too. So, as most of you know, 3 players, and there's really 3 that I want to highlight more than any, and that is Angus Crookshank, Stephen Halliday, and Zach Ostapchuk. I believe that they were pretty reasonable. Angus Crookshank, I know there's not a lot of people happy about, and I kind of I don't understand that from the fans. I understand, like, you want him to get a bit of a longer look, but the kid was not impressive so far during training camp so far. He just seemed pretty lazy when he came to making, like, the simple plays, and not for nothing, you label him as one of your best prospects in what is considered one of the worst prospect pools in the game, just so you can pencil him on your 4th line. No, that makes no sense to me. Halliday, same thing. I understand a lot of people were excited about Stephen Halliday. I thought he was pretty good, but the bottom line is he needs to play more in the AHL if he wants to get those NHL minutes. Honestly, he needs more time. And then another guy I want to go over, obviously, Zach Ostapchuk, who was also cut. Again, same thing as Halliday. Has potential to be an NHL player, but right now he's just not there yet. He needs the AHL time more than anything. I would rather have these guys play top 6 minutes in the AHL rather than play 5 to 10 minutes on the 4th line. That's just me. So, let's go over some positives right now. The guy that we drafted 7th overall in June, Carter Yakimchuk, very impressive so far in training camp, proving a lot of people wrong. There were a lot of questions about his skating, but it didn't seem like that was an issue so far in training camp. And just his IQ on the ice, the way he's able to move the puck up the ice, and the ability to create offense has been phenomenal so far. Again, there are still some questions about his defensive game, and we still need to see a little bit more from that. But so far from an offensive-type defenseman, this guy is absolutely incredible so far. I've been really impressed with Carter Yakimchuk. And another few guys that I want to talk about, one of them that is probably the big talk of training camp, Josh Norris. I mean, I don't know anymore. I mean, he's been out for most of the time, and he's been practicing with Group 2 or whatever that is supposed to mean. Hasn't played any games so far. I'm concerned because there's been a ton of shoulder problems, and on top of that, this guy just has no confidence anymore, and I brought up the idea that if you can try to get rid of him in any way possible, you do it at this point, because Shane Pinto can definitely be a second-line center, and then you could put in whoever you want for your 3rd line, whether that's really Greg or somebody else. But Josh Norris, again, just after he signed that big contract after what was a good year, 35 goals, he's just had trouble staying healthy, and unless something really changes, I don't see that happen. I don't see that changing anytime soon, unfortunately. I want the guy to be able to be healthy for one season and show what he can do, but he just shows no confidence out there, and he just can't stay healthy. And if that's going to be the case, I don't know if he can be a part of this team anymore. And it really sucks to say that, but it's true. So, on top of that, we're also going to talk about a guy that's also had some similar injury histories in the past, and that's Thomas Chabot. He was playing through some kind of injury last year as well. He was able to get surgery on it, which for some reason was never a problem for the Senators' medical staff, which is a huge problem for someone like me, who is just an average fan, not playing the game. I'm not playing the game. I'm just here to talk about it. So that was a concern for me, but he was able to get surgery. He's feeling fine. Artem Zub is also having some injury problems too, and people were saying he's the Josh Norris of the blue line. I don't put too much stock into that. He's had some injury problems, but not to the extent of a guy like Josh Norris. But Artem Zub is the number 1 right-handed defenseman for the Ottawa Senators. And you need him to stay healthy. You really do, because other than that, the depth chart is quite weak. You have Jacob Bernard-Docker, who's actually looked good in training camp so far. I'm not a huge fan of his. Travis Hamonic, we all know what happened for him, but he's fully healthy, so maybe he bounces back a little bit next year. And then you have Nick Jensen, who you got from Washington for Chikrin. So Nick Jensen had a bit of a shaky start in a couple of games that he played, but he was able to find his groove there. And if he's going to be Thomas Chabot's partner, I think it'll be the potential of a good pairing. Nick Jensen still is a capable shutdown defenseman, and then on top of Chabot's offense, Jake Sanderson, again, your number one defenseman, and he is just Jake Sanderson, no explanation needed. But another guy that I want to talk about more than anybody is Linus Ullmark. Linus Ullmark, I'm blown away already, and it's only preseason. We knew Linus Ullmark from Boston, and I know there were a lot of people that were saying, oh, that was just because Boston's defense is so good and everything, which is true. Boston's defense, and according to a stat, they've had the best defensive play in front of netminders since 2009. They were ranked number 1. Ottawa was ranked 32. So they were the worst among all those teams. Boston was ranked the best. So, and Ottawa's defensive play pretty much improved, but nobody's going to admit that because of the horrible goaltending of Korpisalo and Forsberg last year. And Forsberg is going to be healthy this year, so hopefully we see a bit of a bounce back. But I don't think they're going to rely on him too much as long as Ullmark stays healthy. And Ullmark's going to be the number 1 goaltender for us, and he's going to be playing a lot of games. Linus Ullmark, though, in this preseason game against the Buffalo Sabres, this was his first game, faced 29 shots and stopped 28 of them. So he only gave up a goal, but finished with like a .966 save percentage. And interestingly enough, he said something that he said he started sloppy. He said he started sloppy and was able to get into a groove after the first goal. We've seen sloppy goaltending. Ever since Craig Anderson left in 2020, we've had Matt Murray, Anton Forsberg, Philip Gustafsson, we've had Cam Talbot and Jonas Korpisalo, and then whoever else you want to name. But those were the 5 main guys that we've had since Craig Anderson left the Ottawa Senators. Linus Ullmark is the best one of them all, by far. The fact that he said that he was in a slump, he was playing some slumpy hockey, is insane. Because this guy played absolutely incredible, and we've seen some sluggish hockey from netminders in the past. If that's what he calls slumpy, I wonder what he's going to look like when he's not in a slump, and that's going to be beautiful to see. And obviously, Linus Ullmark is going to be the biggest question of them all, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. They also have a goaltender on a PTO, Dustin Tokarski, who has been in the AHL for the longest of time. Most recently, I believe he was with the Buffalo Sabres or the Pittsburgh Penguins, one or the other. But that's where his last 2 stops were. But he's 35 years old. Levi Merilainen's actually dealing with an injury right now, so that might be someone to talk about as a backup in the AHL. And then speaking of goaltenders, also, I want to talk about Matt Sogard. This guy is not impressing me. He's shown no improvement whatsoever, and I'm starting to get pretty frustrated with him. I know we're not supposed to, quote-unquote, lose patience or whatever like that with him. He's supposed to be the goaltender of the future, but he's not proven it to me at all. So, this guy is 6'7". He is apparently one of the tallest goaltenders in the history of the game, and the guy plays like he's 5'4". Why is that? So, on top of that, he's letting in some really bad goals, which is a bad reminder of what we had in Jonas Korpisalo last year. And on top of that, he just plays under his size, and we're trying to call him the goaltender of the future. Unbelievable. And again, maybe I'm just overreacting here because Matt Sogard is good in the AHL, but has done nothing to prove that he can be the goaltender of the future of the Ottawa Senators. I look at Levi Merilainen. When he's healthy, he can show poise. He shows more calm, cool collectedness. And if that's going to be the case with him and Matt Sogard, I would find a trade for Sogard if the time were to come. And we'll see if that's going to happen in the near future. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think that's going to happen. But you're thinking Forsberg's going to leave Ottawa and Sogard's going to be the backup. If Sogard plays the way that he did, I don't see him having a future with this team. And we've given up on goaltenders in the past, but at the same time, you have to prove it. Philip Gustafsson did not prove it. with the Ottawa Senators. He had a good year with Minnesota Wild one year, and then he didn't have a good year this most recent year with the Wild, which is basically why we traded him, because he had a couple of games during the COVID year where he was pretty good, but then in 2021-22, he was awful. So I understand why they made that Cam Talbot trade, because Gustafsson just was struggling way too much and just couldn't prove himself. I think we are in the same predicament as with Matt Sogard, honestly. So Sogard really needs to prove himself, otherwise he might be seeing a one-way ticket out of the Ottawa Senators organization. So we'll see on that front. And two more guys I want to talk about, and they're the PTOs, and that is Nikolai Kulemin and Calen Addison. Nikolai Kulemin, I don't think he's going to be on this team. He actually did say the reason why he signed a PTO with the Senators was because his son, who's 15 years old, is playing junior hockey in Canada, in Toronto. So that pretty much makes sense as to why he came back to North America, because he's been in the KHL for the last 6 years, after leaving the NHL in 2017-2018, I believe. So this pretty much makes sense. But the guy's 38 years old, and he just doesn't have a lot of hockey left in him anymore, to be quite honest with you. His skating's awful. Granted, he's 38 years old, so it makes a little bit of sense why his skating might not be the best. But he's not going to have a future for long with this team, and that it's just the honest point. And then Calen Addison, again, he didn't get cut, but he's just an extra body. He's not getting a spot with this team. He's been brutal as well. We thought maybe because he was with the San Jose Sharks last year, and the Sharks were brutal, but that seems to be not the case. Calen Addison is just not good, and I don't think he's getting a spot with this team. So that's a lot to digest, but it's a lot that I wanted to talk about. I missed a lot regarding the training camp things, so I wanted to put it all into this one video to give you my thoughts on what's been going on with training camp so far. And Travis Green, I like what I saw from him as well. So we'll see if the Senators can keep it up. I will come out with a standings prediction and my playoff brackets, so look out for all of that. Comment down below your thoughts on this and give me opinions about how you believe certain players are doing and not doing. So again, give me your thoughts on that. Like and subscribe. But for now, this is Jack the Ottawa Senators Outlook, and go Sens go.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Ottawa Senators Outlook. For more of this podcast, click on the videos on the left and subscribe by clicking on the icon on the right. Thank you.